Survive and Advance on the Grueling Truth Sports Network. Survive and Advance is brought to you by MyBookie.ag. Go to MyBookie.ag, put in the promo code TGT100 to get up to a 100% cash bonus up to your first $300 deposit. Also, I'm going to bring these two up because we didn't do a Sheridan report today because I had some issues, some doctor's appointments I had to be at. So tonight, we're brought to you by the Handicapping Guide with Phil Rankin. And also, you can find the Handicapping Guide halfway down our page on the right-hand side. Click on it there. And each day, you can buy all four of his reports from 4 different tracks for $5. And, of course, the Sheridan Report, who already hit it big today, picking the Reds to beat the Cubs at plus 170. And the Reds were down 5-1, came back to win 6-5. So that means I got incessant text of booms and tweets of poom from Bobby Sheridan. All right, guys. I am your co-host, Mike Goodpaster. And right now, I would like to introduce my co-host, the Cinderella Man, Steve Risley. How you doing, Steve?
I tell you what, it's been one of those days where I felt like a Kardashian. I have gotten my ass beat up by just about every Canadian, by many you, who has endorsed everything.
Hey, and no offense to Lucas, but when you're getting beat up by Canadians, if you're not in a hockey game, that's not a good thing.
It's not a good thing, and the whole thing. First off, the doctors, you okay? Because I think you went in there to get a lobotomy, didn't you? Hello?
Hello? All right.
Hello?
Well, I think my thing might have dropped off there. I didn't hear the last part of what you said.
I said you went to the hospital today to get a lobotomy, didn't you?
A lobotomy? Why would I do that?
Yeah. To fix your brain.
See, this is the thing. I don't have to fix my brain because I don't live in California. I'm not a liberal who thinks that the government should control my life. And we're not going to get on that right now because we're going to talk about the Toronto Raptors and the Milwaukee Bucks. Now, I do have a question from a listener in Canada. His name is Luque. Luque?
Hello, Luque.
And Luque wants to know, since you've said that, you claimed that you played in the 1981 National Championship game with Isaiah Thomas.
That's what he says? He just claimed I did?
No, I'm just screwing with you now, but he says...
All right. Well, I was going to call him a hoser.
Yeah, but this is the thing. Lucas doesn't have a VCR, so he'd never be able to watch it because I think it's only on VHS.
This is Luque. Oh, that Luque.
Yeah, Luque from Hamilton, Ontario.
He bums free.
Hey, you know what? You're asking if I had a lobotomy, and I said we had a question from somebody named Luque in Canada, and that makes me question who had the lobotomy. All right, so tell me what the connection is with Isaiah Thomas and the Toronto Raptors.
He owned them. He was one of the original founding co-owners of the Toronto Raptors. He founded the team. Him and his partner. He was a minority owner in the program, but he was at one time a co-owner of the Toronto Raptors and built the franchise from the very start. And then I guess he sold off his shares of.
Luque was sure that you would not know that.
Yeah, well, Luque, like I said, he's a hoser. Not that much of an idiot. So yeah, he's one of the founding fathers of the Toronto Raptors. That's probably the only reason they're winning right now, is because they have an IU connection. They were founded on the premise of Bob Knight and IU basketball, and Isaiah Thomas basketball.
You do realize that they've been around. They've been around for what, over 20 years easily, and they've never won anything.
Trust me, I've known Bob Knight for 45 years, and his influence does not go away at any point in time.
Yeah.
I wake up every night with a nightmare every night, and I'm getting yelled at or a basketball thrown at me for something.
Oh my God! You know what? There's been so many people that sent me messages saying that they thought Bob Knight gave you PTSD, and now you just proved it's true.
He probably did. I probably do have PTSD from Bob
I think
Knight.
I've brought that up to you before, haven't I?
I probably have. I'll take it, though. I'll take it. So, Luque, yes, I know that Isaiah Thomas was one of the founding fathers of the Toronto Raptors. I can't remember the name of the other gentleman that was the majority owner.
Didn't matter.
But,
he didn't play for IU.
Yeah, it was Isaiah, and I think he, for whatever reason, he sold out at some point. He did, because I know he's not an owner of the franchise anymore. He now started up a champagne company, which is very famous, which I would love to get Isaiah. If you're listening, you could be a sponsor on this show.
You said you had his phone number. You could always ask him.
You know, I do have a cell phone number, don't I?
We could have like
Of course, I gotta go through
champagne
12.
hour every Friday night where
Yeah.
we just sit here and drink
Yeah.
champagne.
You got to go through like 12 assistants to finally get to him. So I've tried that before.
Well, then you
don't
got his
talk
assistant's cell
Isaiah.
phone number. You don't have his.
No, it's his cell phone number. He just has assistants answer his phone. You know, when you're that rich and that famous.
Well, I bet he's got a cell phone for important people though.
He probably does, yes. Magic probably has a different number than I do.
I bet Kyle Guy's
you
got
that.
his real phone number.
He probably does.
He probably does. And I
But
bet
his champagne is
too.
called Cherilyn. It's called Cherilyn. I've actually tried to get it out here in L.A. and haven't been able to find it.
I thought you didn't drink anymore. Now you're saying you're drinking
Well,
champagne.
no, what's the champagne on New Year's Eve? Come on. I mean, that's just popping bubbly. That's not really drinking. I mean, drink is when you go buy a big old 1.75 liter bottle of Kettle One and chug it. So
I
that's
thought drinking is when you swallowed alcohol.
Nah, no.
Oh, okay. That's my bad. But I had that lobotomy today, so I don't know anything.
No,
All right.
I asked if that's what you had done. I did not insinuate you did. All right, so does Luke A want me to define my definition of Cinderella and get that off the table too? Because Luke A and his and your co-hosts and you were calling me about every name in the book.
Yeah, because
today.
it's freaking stupid. They're 58-24. They are what? The number 2 seed. They won their division. And this is like, how many times have they made it to the conference finals?
Okay, and that's fine, and I agree. And first off, I want to say to Luke A, I did not mean it as a derogatory or negative thing. I took it as an absolute compliment because of this. I looked up the definition in the Cambridge Dictionary, which I keep a copy here. There are 3 definitions of the word Cinderella. Number 1, a girl in a traditional story who was badly treated by her sisters, but who met and married a prince. That's definition number 1. Definition number 2.
That's what you
Someone or
posted a
something-
picture of, so that's what you think it is, though, right?
That was the only thing I could find that defines Cinderella. I actually now.
Then how
that
are
I
you
know-
going to give
I
us
did
another
post a
definition?
picture. I posted the picture before I looked up the definition. I looked up the definition to get this cleared up.
Hey, you know
Definition
what?
number 2,
Just so you know, I'm sitting
Can
here.
I just finish?
Wait a
what I'm
second. I
doing
got to
here?
tell you this before you go on. Because I'm sitting
Yeah.
here, and right next to me is my cat's litter box, and he's taking a shit. And that's as they would say, apropos. Go ahead.
Apropos. All right, very good. Sure.
Apropos,
I got shit
not
on all day by
apropos.
you guys, so might as well end the day the way it
You
started
know
and ran all
what?
day long.
If you're getting shit on, it's because you made. Now, defend it. Defend it. Show us how we were wrong.
I'm trying to if you'll shut up.
I was talking about my cat.
Okay, kitty, whatever. Good. The only good cat's a dead cat.
Well,
So-
the only good Pfizer employee is a dead one. Go ahead.
And we all get there eventually. Somewhat or something.
Quicker
that-
because
UK
of Pfizer, usually.
The UK definition, someone or something that is given little attention or care, especially less than they deserve. A great example of that is mental health has long been considered the Cinderella of the healthcare industry because mental health treats people who get little attention and little care, especially that they need. Okay, the U.S. definition, it all falls under the first definition. The U.S. definition, someone or something, especially a sports team, that achieves success when people think they're very unlikely to. Now, before you jump in on that,
They're 58-24.
You picked the Bucks.
Yeah.
I picked the Bucks. Many of you picked the Bucks.
Yeah.
Pretty much everybody who's into the numbers and the rackets, the Bucks were an underdog in pretty much every game they played until Game 6, which comes tomorrow.
The Bucks were underdogs in almost
now they're
every
a
game they
2.5 point
played.
favorite the last I saw.
No,
They're
Toronto's
the
favored.
underdogs.
Toronto's favored.
Toronto.
Yeah. You just
Not-
said the
were they
Bucks
favored?
were underdogs in every game.
Oh, Toronto. I meant Toronto, yes.
Oh,
Toronto was
okay.
the underdog in every game. So, regardless, in this series, they are the underdog or the Cinderella. And now they are proving to be a Cinderella because they are someone or something, especially a sports team, that achieves success when people think they're – even Luke K was pissing and moaning that when the first 2 games came out and Milwaukee went up 2-0, he was pissing and moaning, well, we've had a great run. We've had a great series. And I'm like, hey, let's just see if we can get a couple wins out of this, at least show some respect. And Luke K had that same text conversation with me. And he gave up on him. He didn't give up on him. No Raptors fan gave up on them. But they all thought it was a lost cause at that point. When you get 2-0 and everybody's got this mentality of the Bucks being the best team in the NBA, including you, including me, including all your cohorts, including everybody for the most part, except for the Toronto faithful. So that's where the Cinderella thing came from. It wasn't meant. They are playing above themselves. They are taking on a challenge that very few people thought they could achieve, and especially when they're down 2-0. They double overtime their first win in Game 3. They win fairly easily in Game 4. And then they have to go back to Milwaukee, and we're thinking, okay, they made their run. Surprise, 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 as Gomer would say. They pull off Game 5 and win it. Now they are all of a sudden the Cinderella team in the catbird seat.
They're not.
Well,
they're a team that was expected. They were a team that was expected by most people to be in the conference finals.
The only people that bet on them to get to the championship finals were people like Bobby who knew how to play the odds and knew what the lines meant. And I give Bobby full credit for that. I'm sure he's bet on the Raptors more and won money off the Raptors more than he's bet on the Bucks because Bobby's a smart man at that. He's very good at that. And I'm sure that's what he's done. But he's bet them as an underdog or a Cinderella. I use interchange
Cinderella as an underdog.
Use Cinderella.
Okay.
I use Cinderella as a phrase, meaning it's a little more complimentary,
do this for me then.
Nicer, prettier.
If this is an actual term that people use, can you name me a NBA Cinderella from the past?
An NBA Cinderella from the past.
Yeah. Who was a team that people coined as this is the Cinderella of this NBA playoffs?
Well, I mean, I would have to look at the games in front of me. I don't have all the winners in front of me.
Can you give me a Cinderella from the college basketball tournament ever?
Yeah, North Carolina State beat Houston. There's one. Indiana, 81, beats
Indiana
North Carolina.
Was a Cinderella in 1981. So the number 7 team in the country.
I don't think
was
we weren't the number 1 team in the country.
You were number 7.
We were barely in the top 10.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. So you were number 9.
Number
9 is a Cinderella.
Example. North Carolina State and Houston. Big upset.
Yeah.
Okay, big upset.
It's a big upset, but this is the thing. Wait a second.
UMBC,
North Carolina
UMBC
State
over Virginia.
Okay.
There's a Cinderella story.
Exactly. That's a Cinderella story.
Right.
Okay. How about this?
In this phrase,
a Cinderella
I tried to find
story.
some way to eloquate that what Toronto was achieving was beyond the expectations of what most of us had.
That doesn't
in
make
our
a Cinderella, though. That just means
it may have been a little over-exaggeration of the term. And again, I meant it as no harm. I was not trying to slight Toronto. I am a Toronto fan. I have told Luke Kay that. I've been a Toronto fan because I pull for the underdogs. And in this series, they are the underdogs. And right now, they're in the catbird seat. Now, Milwaukee's the underdog because they've got to go back to the
So does that make
Jurassic
wait a
Park
second.
and play.
Could you say that most people don't expect Milwaukee to win Game 6?
I think probably the general feeling would be Milwaukee's played a couple of bad games, kind of mediocre games. Their star player is
the general feeling is they are down 3-2. They've lost 3 straight games. They're going to Toronto, who hardly ever loses there. So do you think most people expect Milwaukee to go ahead and win these next 2 games?
You know, I think I wouldn't call it a team a Cinderella team now. I would say that they're even now.
Wait a second.
No,
hold on. A Cinderella is a freaking Cinderella. Nobody when NC State
No.
Game
In the fairy tale, Cinderella became the princess. She married the prince. She didn't stop being a Cinderella and became the princess. She achieved her goals in the story, the great classic story by Walt Disney and Disney Productions. She became a princess and lost her Cinderella status. So right now, the Raptors are on the verge of losing their Cinderella status and becoming a prince.
Well, you can't lose your Cinderella status until you win the NBA Finals.
Well, I said they're on the verge, Mike.
Answer me this. If Milwaukee plays Golden State will probably be fairly heavily favored, at least 2.5 to 1 probably. Are they Cinderella then?
I mean, they're an underdog. And if you want to choose to call them a Cinderella, I mean,
but I would never choose to call somebody.
That was a colloquialism done by me.
It's a colloquialism that doesn't make any sense because.
Well,
this is the thing. You brought up NC State, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now you do realize that NC State was an underdog against Pepperdine in the first round, a big underdog against UNLV in the second round. They were a favorite in the third round because they played Utah, who would upset UCLA. Huge underdog against Virginia. They were a small favorite against Georgia, and then they were like a 7-point dog against Houston. To me, an underdog or a Cinderella is a team nobody expects to even get out of the first round. A Cinderella in this tournament would have been the Detroit Pistons, if there was a Cinderella. But see, there isn't in most professional sports. Nobody called the Philadelphia Eagles Cinderella when they came out of nowhere to win it.
Okay, I mean, it was just verbiage. It was like I said, it was a colloquialism.
All right, so you're basically just saying that you were full of shit. You're trying to defend it, but it's not working out, so we're going to go a different way.
I called it what I chose to call it, but the message is still the same. The Raptors have overachieved at this point. They put themselves in position to control their own destiny now.
All right, how about this? This is where I want to go now.
And that's what Cinderella did when she put on the glass slippers and the pretty gown, and the pumpkin turned into a carriage drawn by six beautiful white horses.
You sound like a grown man that's getting way too excited about Cinderella. But my question is this. Last year, during the NCAA tournament, and we called them Cinderella, and I can even pull up an article I wrote about the top 10 Cinderellas in NCAA tournament history. You gave me a hard time and said nobody's a Cinderella. Once they get to here, they earned it. They're not a Cinderella. Nobody's a Cinderella. We fast forward a year, and you said it's on a show, which we can pull the tape up if you want. We can listen to it. We can look at what you posted on the article.
Fine. Because in this mode, I just said it as a quick word to describe the fact that I felt that Toronto had exceeded expectations at this point. Nobody expected them to be up 3-2 after going down 2-0. I'm sure the Raptors faithful did. I'm sure Luque did.
Yeah, but
you were betting heavily.
I didn't bet heavily either way in this series.
After I misfired on my Sixers prediction, which blew up in my face, and Lakers, fine. I'm not. That's why I don't gamble. I'm not good at it. I know my strengths and weaknesses. That's not a strength of mine, is gambling and picking odds and picking the right teams. I don't do that.
Well, another thing that's probably not a strength is coming up with colloquialism.
Well, I fire from the hip sometimes on those. So there was no intent to just disparage or put any shame toward the Raptors. I think it's fun. I'm excited about watching the game tomorrow. I'm pulling for the Raptors to win this and then go on and get slaughtered by the Warriors, which is probably what's going to happen anyway.
You really think they're going to get slaughtered?
No, I think they're probably going to lose to the Raptors. But
so was that just another colloquialism to bit you in the ass, or?
Yeah, a lot of things bite me in the ass, Mike. I'm willing to admit a lot of things bite me in the ass. That's fine. I am not a perfect human being like you.
Exactly, I know.
I'm not right 100% of the time, so I'm fallible on occasion.
Okay. Well, I mean, that makes you better than me.
And you like to point out the fact that I am fallible.
No, I just like to point out the fact that when you make a comment that I think is stupid, I'm going to say it's stupid. It's just, I've never heard.
But you don't need to make a campaign on it on Twitter.
I didn't make a campaign
and get all of your butt boys to join you.
Butt boys?
Yeah, all of your cronies that come on with you.
You know what would be nice?
Retweet your tweets.
This is the thing.
I agree with Mike. Mike is the god. I agree with Mike. Mike is a genius.
Because
Mike is a good guy. I love debating with you, Mike. You're my friend. You're one of my better friends. You're probably one of my best friends. I have fun with you. But I don't hold you in any higher esteem than anybody else, and I'll call you out when I think you're being stupid.
Yeah, but see, you haven't been able to call me out yet. Call me out when I'm stupid, then. Have you ever done that?
Yeah, I have.
When?
And you fire back with a personal attack on me. But that's okay.
A personal attack? You know what? I could go back to January where... Wait a second.
I think I was supposed to put something where the sun doesn't shine.
We had 15 minutes of fame. We had where you called me an effing idiot during the NFL playoffs. And we can go back and listen to this. And
yeah, I'm sure I did at some point in time, too.
The fact is this. I was smiling because I don't care. I gave my opinion.
I don't care.
Now, the thing that's really sad, and this is a liberal construct, is liberals have a tendency to believe in free speech as long as what they say. Now, when you put something on social media, that's for other people to see. So what you're saying is, if you put something and you tweet it out and you tweet it directly to somebody, you don't really want a response unless they agree with you.
No, I don't care.
Because I can tell you this,
I
there
had fun
wasn't.
with it today. We were hitting LOL after everything. We were having fun with it, so it's fine. I'm just saying it was not.
I don't think you were having fun with it because you're calling people butt buddies.
Well,
and
I don't want to
names.
get into a pissing match on Twitter. And the thing about Twitter and any social media account, you can't see people's faces. You can't see if they're laughing or fuming, getting pissed. So you just kind of just let it go because you're pushing envelopes at some point in time. And sometimes you're going to build a wall, and eventually you're going to fall over that wall, and it's going to not be fun anymore. So I just decide, I'll play with it for a while, and then I'm just going to nip it because we're getting up there now, and I'm having fun, and I think Mike's having fun. The other people involved, I don't know. So let's just drop this and not go any farther with it because we're going to get close to that tip of the wall where people will start falling over and go, now I'm offended. And we don't want to have that. We want to have fun with it. So,
I don't think anybody's going to get offended by calling a team Cinderella.
To Luke K. Well, I got a lot of hate mail for it.
Who'd you get hate mail from?
I don't know. I have to go back and look at my Twitter account. The usual suspects. Most of them just agreeing with you blindly, as they usually do.
Blindly? That's because I'm 99% of the time right when we have any discussion.
Go on believing that.
Yeah, I'll go on believing it because, most of the time,
All right, we beat a dead horse here. I apologize to anybody I've offended for calling Toronto a Cinderella team. By definition, according to Cambridge Dictionary, they fit the billing of a Cinderella team. What their record was during
so
the season.
So they're a female that's a princess. Okay. Whatever.
Cinderella does
give
not,
me a professional sports team that was termed
label.
Cinderella. Nobody terms it that. That's my whole point. And they're a 2 seed.
I would have to go up and look back, and I'm sure I can find. There's a damn movie made about a boxer who was called the Cinderella Man.
Yeah, the Cinderella Man, because he came from absolutely nothing, and he won like 10 fights in a row where nobody gave him a chance. That's not this. Toronto was favored to win in the first round easily.
I'm looking at the dictionary again. Someone or something, especially a sports team, that achieves success when people think they are very unlikely to. For the most part, people thought the Raptors
I don't
were
think this was very unlikely. Steve, I think the Milwaukee Bucks, I've been saying this since freaking December, are going to win the NBA championship. Yes, but that doesn't mean because a team that was 2 games behind them might beat them 4-2 or 4-3. This is the thing. If I think Toronto is Cinderella, to me, I disrespected Cinderella. What I will say about the Toronto Raptors is this. They're a lot better than what I thought they were. That doesn't make them Cinderella. That just makes them better than I thought they were.
Well, that's wordsmithing that you use versus what I use. I think we're on the same page. I would agree wholeheartedly with your definition. They're a lot better than we thought they were. Now, I chose in that instance to call that a Cinderella. You chose to not do that and call them a team that you thought was better than you thought they were. To me, it's the same thing because I agree entirely with your definition, 100%, that we all found out that the Raptors were much better than we thought they were and are giving the Bucks more than they thought they were going to get, and probably at this point more than they can handle.
Who wins Game 6?
I've got to go with the Raptors for this reason. The Bucks' last 2 games have been out of sorts, just associated with each other to some degree, just not meshing well. Now, that's a team that can change that in the span of the airplane ride from Milwaukee to Toronto. They can change. They're that good. But I have not seen a chink in the last 3 games in Toronto's armor. I haven't seen Kawhi Leonard fall off. I've seen other players step up to support. And I've seen no idiot mistakes by the coaches. I've seen really not a lot of stupid plays by them. They have not put themselves or shown me that they are a team that is just going to wake up all of a sudden and realize, my God, we're playing way above our heads. I think they're going to go into this game playing at home. I think Jurassic Park. I think the stadium is going to be nuts. I think they're going to feed off that. And Toronto and Milwaukee better get their crap together real quick because they don't want to get down 10 to 20 points on the Raptors at home. You don't want to do that. That's my opinion. Now you can go ahead and give yours. And who do you think is going to win? I think the Raptors wrap this up in 6 games because if they don't, I think the Bucks are playing the Warriors.
I think it just comes down to which bench plays better. I mean, the
There
guy
you
that
go.
stands
Yeah,
out here,
agreed.
and it's the way it's always been, and the Raptors bench was terrible the entire playoffs till the last 3 games. Fred Van
Yeah.
Vliet has a plus 28. Norman Powell was plus 3. Serge Ibaka was plus 9. When you look at Milwaukee's bench, George Hill minus 22. Pat Connaughton minus 12. That one guy with the 2 eyes at the start of his name was minus 10.
Oh, yeah. You yell at me for mispronouncing it. You just blow it off.
No, I didn't bounce it off. I just told everybody what it was because I didn't want to disrespect him by saying it wrong. Mirotic,
in a hurry.
minus 11. So, if you're doing that, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
And the big key here on the starters is Eric Bledsoe. He played 33 minutes, 20 points. He was a plus 5. Chris Middleton was a problem, but other than that, I mean, Giannis was a minus 2. I mean, until you get to a minus 5, I don't know about you, but I don't worry about it too much until then.
No, yeah.
So
I don't. But would you agree with me that Milwaukee has a bench? I mean, George Hill can come alive tomorrow.
Well, that's why I'm going to assume that Milwaukee. I'm just going to stay with Milwaukee because, to tell you the truth, I picked them in December. I think that this game will be a toss-up. I think it'll be close.
Yeah, I believe it's a toss-up. I believe it's a toss-up too. Yeah, but you're gonna go with Toronto, Milwaukee. I'm gonna go with Toronto. I have not seen a chink in Toronto's game the last 3 games. I expect them at this point
but this
to
is
come
the
out and
thing.
play
You
like
didn't see a chink in Milwaukee the first 2 games, and there was all
you
kind of
didn't
chinks
exactly. But I've seen it in the last 3. I've seen chinks in the last 3. So if Milwaukee retools and gets back to where they were in the first 2 games, we're going to Game 7 on Monday probably, Monday. We'll go to Game 7 on Monday. And right then, we're all going to go with Milwaukee at that point. But if they don't retool, you're looking at Game 1 starting probably Tuesday or Wednesday or Thursday. I mean, they probably have the date set.
Game 1 is Thursday.
Thursday. So, yeah, you're looking at Toronto versus the Warriors. So, but it's good. It's going to be a great game. But please, I meant no disrespect by calling the Raptors a Cinderella story. It was just a colloquialism that came out, Luque.
See, I just don't understand why you even continue to bring it up. We're talking about something completely different now.
All right. Well, I'm winding
this is
this
the
down
question.
So we get into
we
the
got
fun
a
part
question from Simpla Todico, LRS on Twitter. And he is not a huge basketball fan. He actually is listening for us to talk about the Indy 500 stuff. He's one of the guys that wanted us to talk about what we thought were our top 4 moments that we've seen in Indy 500 history. He wants to know
all in the snake pit, and I'm not sure I can talk about them all.
He wants to know what plus minus means in the NBA. Steve?
I believe, and I asked that question earlier. Still don't have the grasp on it that you do, but I take plus minus as the good things they've done, and you take the bad things that they've done, the turnovers, the personal fouls, all the bad things. You put those together. In other words, like if I'm right or wrong, please tell me. Lopez was a plus 11. That means he did 11 things better than he did bad on the game. Is that a fair assessment of that, or is there a more detailed assessment?
No, you're not even close. Actually,
okay, there you go.
Plus minus is per 100 possession stat. And this is basically if you're Chris Middleton, when you're in the game for 28 minutes, if your team outscored the other team by 10 points, you're plus 10. If your team gets outscored by the other team by 10 points, you're minus 10. So it's the effect you have on the game overall.
On the game. Okay, there you go. See, I wasn't even really aware of it. Yeah, so thank you. I asked that question and didn't really get a strong answer. So, yeah, so you want to keep Rogan in the game. He's a plus 18 for the Bucks. I mean, you don't want to put Hill in. He was a minus 22. They lost 22 points when he was in the game. Giannis was a minus 2. That's breaking. You don't want your star breaking even.
But the thing is this. All the starters there were fine. It's when they went to the backups. That's where you see the minus 15 and the minus 22. That was the difference in the game.
But it doesn't make a difference that Giannis, who's their star player, is a minus 2. Shouldn't he, when he's in a game, if he's their star, shouldn't he be influencing the game to where they're a plus something good when he's in the game? Like, let's look at Leonard. But Leonard was only a +3. So, he was only a +3. So, again, maybe those two washed each other out to some degree. And really, you look at the Raptors, I mean, Green was a -17. Lowry was a 0. Gasol was a -4. I mean, how'd they win that game? Well, you got Van Vliet, who played big.
I already
he
told
was a
the bench.
+28. Yeah.
Van Vliet was like -28 or something.
And Ichabod or Ibaka.
Yeah, Ichabod Crane.
Again, I'll get reamed by Luke for that too, probably. Go ahead. I'll take it.
Luke is not here right now. He's at the Toronto Blue Jays game, but he is actually listening while covering Vlad Guerrero.
Well, that was a
Jr.
big deal because wasn't it Biggio and somebody else that had their kids both playing for the Raptors?
Yeah.
That was the first time
not
ever
the Raptors,
two sons of
they play for the Blue Jays are the Major League Baseball
the Blue Jays,
team.
yeah, the Blue Jays. I'm sorry, yeah, but there were two sons of who was the other one?
Biggio.
I keep wanting to say Oladipo. It's Biggio and who's the other one?
Guerrero
and Biggio's sons were both playing. That's the first time in Major League Baseball that's ever happened. So hats off to Luke K.
Actually,
for posting them.
Actually,
so I learned something there.
Actually, there's been a father and son play Major League Baseball together at the same time.
Yeah, the Griffeys.
Yeah.
The Griffeys.
Hit home runs in the same game at, I think, Comiskey Park back in 1990.
Was that when Griffey was playing for the White Sox and
no, they
Mariners
were both playing for the Mariners because Griffey, I forget where he played before the Mariners, but he got traded to the Mariners. Big Griffey or young Griffey? Old Griffey got traded to the Mariners so they could play them together, and they both hit a home run.
I thought young Griffey started with the Mariners. He did.
Yeah, he did. Young Griffey started with the Mariners, and he went to the Reds, and he wasn't near as good as the Reds. So there goes my hopes and dreams again. All right, the Indy 500 is this weekend, and we had a ton of requests for our top 4 races or the top 4 moments that we saw in Indy 500 history. And we're going to talk about that. But first, though, we're going to talk a little bit about this.
Can I say one thing?
Sure.
Put closure. Ken Griffey Sr. Played for the Reds, went to the Yankees, went to the Atlanta Braves, and then ended up with the Mariners. So he went to the Mariners from the Braves.
Yeah.
Just wanted to,
well, since you're looking it up, what year was he the Major League Baseball All-Star Game MVP?
I gotta look it up again. I'll pull it up.
It's 1980 at Dodger Stadium.
Oh, okay. All right.
But hit a home run, Chavez Ravine. I think right.
Hey, look, I knew that they were the father-son combo that played. I knew that he played for the Reds. I knew they ended up with the Mariners together. So that's pretty good for me, considering I'm not a huge baseball fan. Sorry, Bobby.
Well,
doesn't mean I don't like baseball. It
do a sports show. We got to know about sports. Here we go.
Baseball. And I'm trying to learn about baseball.
This is my question. This should be right up your alley. This is the Indy 500. I know the pace car is being driven by Dale Jr. this year, and I know that there is a lot of talk about the Indy 500 and NASCAR maybe doing a double header in the future. I don't know if they're planning on running the Indy 500 before or after. Do you think that's a good idea or a bad idea?
It won't happen. It won't happen. NASCAR poo-pooed that earlier in the year. That was
it's being brought up again by Dale Earnhardt Jr. So,
yeah, the old Dale Earnhardt Jr. would like to see it happen, but I think logistically, and nobody wants to be second fiddle between those two racing events or venues or
but unless you're racing the Daytona 500 with it. I mean, NASCAR is going to be second fiddle. I mean, the Daytona 500 second fiddle to the Indy 500. That's why they call it the greatest spectacle.
I think that the Speedway would feel it would lose money on that proposition because they draw 2 different race days. They get 2 different crowds in.
But if they did it all on one day, Steve, you would get everybody, and you wouldn't have the empty seats there anymore that you have had.
I don't know that if the attendance would jump that much. I really don't. That track is not built for NASCAR. It's not a good track for NASCAR to run on, really. The only reason NASCAR really even runs at Indianapolis is that it's Indianapolis. It's the prestige of the track is why NASCAR's there. If you talk to anybody in the NASCAR circles, it's a parade. It's the tracks are the 4 corners kill those cars. It's hard on the tires. The banking is only 9 degrees. It's not steep enough. They only average about 165 to 170 miles an hour on that track, which is, nothing compared to what those cars can do on a super speedway. And it's hard to pass. It's bad tire wear. The track is just not laid out. They put the diamond grooves in there to gain traction and ground effects for the Indy cars. Indy cars run a different compound of tires.
Well, the only thing I got to say there, does it not make both it's more viewability, I guess, for both of them if they do that. Because I remember a few years back, even what was it, the Coca-Cola 600? Is it the Coca-Cola 600 that they used to run at night?
That's Sunday too. Yes,
Okay.
That's happening this Sunday.
Yeah, I didn't know if it still did or not because I really lost
Yeah,
interest. And when we talk about our greatest moments in Indy 500 history, nothing for me goes past 1992 and before. That's the stuff I remember. So
I would say I'm right about the same place you are. Yeah, I'm about that time. I lost interest.
So let's go ahead.
IndyCar split.
Let's go. Our 4 favorite Indy 500 races. Give me your number 4. And it doesn't have to be the greatest. It's just your favorite and why.
Number 4 was, I think it was 1992.
Oh, hell, we got the
94.
same number 4. Maybe. I don't know. Go ahead, then.
It was Al Unser Jr. and Emerson Fittipaldi.
No. 92, I think, was Scott Goodyear, wasn't it? Or no, was it? Yeah, that's the one where 92 is my number 4. I haven't really got a chance to look it up, so I'm going off memory. But that's the one that Michael Andretti dominated like most of the race. And
you heard the famous line, Andretti is slowing down.
Yeah, he led for like 160 laps, and his engine just failed with 11 laps to go because it's genetics in their engines, I guess. And, from what I remember about 92, because if it's the same race you're thinking of, then we get the same number 4, but Unser Jr. took the lead. And Scott Goodyear was charging behind him the whole time. And Goodyear did everything he could to try to get around Unser. But Unser held off, won the victory by a half a car length, which was the closest race
That was
ever.
92, right.
Yeah, that was 92. That's my number 4.
93,
was that yours too?
93, my number 4 was, that definitely was a great one. Number 3 was mine, which was the duel between Fittipaldi and then again Unser Jr. And that's where coming in the last 2 or 3 laps, they were racing side by side, and Al Unser Jr. clipped Emerson Fittipaldi's rear, I think left rear tire, wrecked on like the last 2 or 3 laps, and Fittipaldi goes on to win. It was the constant duel between Fittipaldi, one of the greatest Formula One drivers of all time, who'd retired from F1 and came to Indy, and Al Unser Jr. was on a hot streak because Al Unser Jr. goes on and wins the next year. So. And actually, here's a little tidbit about 94.
That wasn't 94. That was 1989.
No, that was 94. I'm looking at the race winners right now. That also, I'm just double checking my stats, is the only year ever that Mercedes-Benz produced an engine and ran and won the Indy 500 with a Mercedes-Benz engine. How about that?
Because, I remember 1989. In 1989, with 14 laps to go, was Fittipaldi and Unser Jr. And the thing I remembered about that was they raced side by side, headed into, I think, the final turn, and they made contact with each other, and Unser's car careened into the outside wall, and Fittipaldi won.
Well, that's the race I'm talking about. It was '89 race. They had a couple duels back through there.
It was 1989. And
I thought we were going to tell stories that we all saw, not go over races. I didn't. Well, no, I didn't research the races to say what were my favorite 4. I don't really have. AJ Foyt winning was one of my favorites when he won fourth in '77.
The 1977. Yeah, I remember.
That was probably my favorite.
I was at Guilford. I was at Hartford Pike, which was a creek that had all these little spinny things in it. And if you got in it, my mom told me you're going under and you're going to die. So I was always scared to death of that creek. But we were fishing. And I remember my dad's old pickup truck, he left the battery run, and we listened to the race there while watching it because we lived in Indiana. It wasn't in Indianapolis, so we got to see it the same day, but the same time everybody else did because up until, I think, 1986 race, they were all on tape delay. And I remember going home that night and watching it, but A.J. Foyt was my favorite. And the thing about A.J. Foyt is I think he's the greatest open-wheel driver of all time, and I don't even think that's debatable, is it?
Well, I don't, but it's funny how they give Andretti the credit they give Andretti. Now, Andretti has an F1 World Championship, but, Foyt won so many USAC races and championships in USAC.
Well, didn't he win 7 or 8 total USAC championships?
Yeah, something like that.
And nobody's ever gotten close to that.
I still think he's number 1 in career wins of all time on an IndyCar circuit, is he not? I believe he is.
Yeah, I think I think he had, was it 24 race wins, or is that just his? No, that was Bobby Rahal.
Oh, no.
That's
He
Bobby
was up in the
Rahal. He
60s
was
or
way
70s,
past Bobby
yeah.
Rahal. I don't know how many he had, but he had a lot.
In IndyCar, he had 67 wins in IndyCar, which I believe still leaves him at number one.
And that's a ton. They don't race near as much as Daytona or NASCAR drivers either.
No, IndyCar runs maybe 18 to 20 races a year. And, they raced a little more back then because they ran the Milwaukee Mile, and, the front-engine roadsters, which he ran a lot of time, could run dirt. Those cars could run dirt, where the rear-engine cars they were too powerful and could not get on dirt. But he was USAC stock car champion. He won 3 USAC stock car championships. And, of course, they already had NASCAR was a separate, but USAC had a stock car division too.
Well, yeah. AJ Foyt raced in Daytona. Did he win that way back in the day?
Yeah, he won Daytona one year.
When in the 60s?
NASCAR, best finish. I'm looking. Outdoor Series. Hang on. Monster Energy. NASCAR Championship. Or it was NASCAR Gander Outdoors Truck Series. He ran some truck races. Yeah, he won the Daytona 500. I just don't know what the exact year was. He's the only driver to win the Indianapolis 500 4 times, the Daytona 500, the 24 hours of Daytona, the 24 hours of Le Mans, and the 12 hours of Sebring National Motorsports. He's in the National Motorsports Hall of Fame. He won the Daytona 500 in, Jesus, this doesn't tell me. You idiots.
I thought it was Daytona, in the late 60s, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, it was late 60s here. So he won in 72 with the Wood Brothers.
Okay.
But then again, Mario Andretti won in 1967. So Andretti actually won Daytona. He won in the Holloman Moody car. He won in Daytona before AJ did.
Yeah, but the difference is this. AJ Foyt is Tom Brady, and, Andretti
Mario is...
He's Peyton Manning.
Andretti...
He gets 1 or 2,
I can't argue that. That's
but the
probably
other
a good
guy
analogy,
won
Mike.
4. So, the other thing I remember about 77 was AJ Foyt destroyed that race. I think he won. Did he win by more than a lap? I know it was like 40 seconds or 30 seconds.
Actually, he was running away with the 75, and he had the Coyote, the Gilmore Coyote. He had his own engine. He built his own engine, his own chassis, and he had Gilmore sponsorship. And Gilmore, I think, was a chain of gas stations out here in the West Coast. I went to a exhibit, and they had all this stuff about Gilmore Racing, and I think it was a large chain of gas stations. But anyway, he had Gilmore as his partner, funded everything. And they actually did a special on AJ here on Speed Channel last couple of days I watched. Talked about he actually was dominating the 75 and 76 races. Ran out of gas with 3 laps to go in 75 and had to fill up. And I think he ended up finishing second or third in that one.
Hey, you know the cool thing, Steve? Do you have ESPN Plus?
No, I don't.
ESPN Plus, they have every Daytona 500 on. You can watch them in their entirety. Of course, they were the hour and a half, 2-hour version that they played back then because that's all they have.
Right, yeah.
But you can watch 75. You can watch all the way back to, I think, 1971. And actually, it's cool. They all start off with Jim Neighbors singing Back Home Again in Indiana. And yeah, that's what it meant.
You're talking about the Indy 500. You're talking about the Indy 500, right?
Yeah.
I thought you said Daytona 500.
No,
but I
might have accidentally said it, but I doubt it.
If you did, it was accident. I know. No, and that's great.
I remember doing this. 1979. Did Mears win? I think he did because I think that pissed me off. Because I always liked Danny
I believe that was
Ungaius.
the first win.
You remember Danny Ungaius? I don't know why I like Danny Ungaius, but he seemed to have
Flying
some bad
Hawaiian
luck too.
The Flying Hawaiian. All I remember is seeing him laying there with his feet bent about 50 different ways, and laying in his black Interscope car. He had wrecked badly, and the cars were not the unibody tubs that they are today. And he wrecked so badly, and he was laying there slumped in his cockpit. The whole front end had been sheared off the car.
Was that the 85 race?
He's got his. I don't remember. I don't remember which one it was, but he's sitting on the ground basically because I think all the wheels had come off the car, and his legs are like in 3 different positions. That none of which of the 3 are normal positions. I think that effectively ended his racing career, as I remember.
Yeah, I think that was 80. Was that the same 85? Because I think there was a couple big wrecks early, and one of those is where Danny Sullivan did the little spin out.
Yeah, that was one of my four favorites.
Yeah, just because of that one moment.
Yeah, that one moment. I mean, spinning like that. Andretti was leading, and Andretti was chasing him down. Mario was, and he's in I think the short chute between turns 1 and 2. He comes out and hits the paint or whatever, and he spins that car in a perfect spin. I don't know that he ever took his foot off the accelerator.
I don't think he did. That's what made it so impressive. And that's probably what saved his ass, though, Steve.
Yeah. He kept the power going to the car, and he straightened it out immediately. And I don't know that he lost 2 positions. And, of course, he had to come in and he flat spotted his tires. He had to come in and get new tires. But he got right back, and that was his only win, and that was in 1985.
All right, and the one that sticks out to me the most is 1986. That's the first time they were ever showing the race live. And if you remember, 1986, they were supposed to show it live, and they did, but it ended up being on Monday because they got rained out. And I remember I was excited because I had a VCR, but I didn't have the 82 Indy 500 on it, and they replayed the 82, which was Gordon Johncock's really close win in 1982, which was one of the greatest races I've ever saw. But the big thing that stood out to me in 1986 was Bobby Rahal, because the owner of Rahal's team, do you remember Jim Truman?
Uh-huh, yeah.
Okay, he was battling cancer. He didn't have long to live.
Yeah, passed away of cancer, yeah.
And Rahal ended up passing, was it Kevin Hogan? Kogan?
Was it Hogan or Sneva?
I think it was Hogan, with like 2 laps
to
go.
Okay.
And I thought the moment that stood out the most to that was when they drank the milk. And you could see Jim Truman there, who was taking a big swig, happy as hell, grinning from ear to ear. And then, unfortunately, he passed away, like, I think a week or 2 later. But to me, just the impact of that and Bobby Rahal knowing this is the last race this guy's ever going to see, and he goes out and he gets the win for him, and then to see that guy's joy after he did it, that's what stands out most to me about any of the Indy 500s that I've ever seen. And like I said, up until the early 90s where they had the little breakup, I mean, this was a race that I never missed. I don't know if I've watched this race in the last 20 years more than a few laps. I've tried to before because my childhood wants me to, because I liked doing it so much back then, but not now. But if we talk about this Indy 500, Steve, I think the big thing here is Helio Castroneves, who has a chance to win his fourth. Only done by Foyt, Unser, Rick Mears. I don't care, though, because he's not Foyt or Unser or Rick Mears. But I am old.
There's actually there's a fourth one. There's a fourth one, too.
Who's the fourth one?
4 drivers that won. Unser, Foyt, Mears, and who is the fourth one?
I don't think there is a fourth. He would beat a fourth.
Okay, I'll look it up real quick. Go ahead and talk. I'll look it up.
I got nothing else to say. I was going to wrap it up with your opinion on whether he could do it or not.
I'm going to wrap it up. I got to talk about my snake pit stories.
Okay. Well, I'll just let you go on then, because I got to pick my kids up at 9.
Oh, what time is it?
It's 8:50.
6. Oh, okay. All right.
You can give us a snake pit story real quick.
Four-time winners of the Indy 500. Here we go. I thought there were 4, but you could be right. 3 drivers have won it. Yes, you're right. Foyt, Unser, and Mears. And then Castroneves would be the 4th.
All right. So we'll end the show like that. That's how we usually end it. You say, you're right, and then we move on.
You're right. As usual, you're right. I'm going to miss my snake pit stories. Those are the greatest stories.
Tell us the best snake pit story you got, and it better be either hilarious or just plain awesome.
Well, like I said, the first 7 or 8 races I went to, I was in junior high and high school. And we literally, I don't know how much you've been in Indianapolis, but we would go down Capitol Avenue, turn right on 16th Street at about 11 o'clock at night, and you would just park. You would be stuck, and it would stop because you couldn't get into turn gate 2 until they opened the gates like at 6 in the morning. So it was a massive party there. Then we always just went to the snake pit. And I think the first 7 or 8 races, I don't know that I ever saw a car on the track. I found out what it was to get drunk and puke on beer, just beer. I saw my first porn movie being made in the back of a pickup truck, basically. and I learned what suntan burn was as I sat out all day with no suntan lotion on and came home as red as any lobster would ever hope to be. And then we went on to proceed to repeat those episodes through 6 or 7 years before I finally got interested in the actual racing and actually got seats up in the Southwest Vista. And we would sit up there high in turn one where you could see a bunch of the track, and we'd start watching the race. And that was probably right around the time Foyt, in 1977 or not, where I would actually start sitting up into the stands and watching the racing. So the Snake Pit in itself is its own world. It's since been gone. It's gone now. It was a debauchery, just a corner debauchery. But regardless of that,
so it was like
that's
L.A.
the kind of stories I thought we were going to tell. Yeah, a lot like L.A. Yeah, like the Valley, pretty close to where I live. Where I live in the part of the Valley where most of the porn movies are made, right in the area by which we live in.
And I think the Valley is where most of the gay porn movies are made, right?
Those are generally made in WeHo. West
Okay,
Hollywood.
I just wanted to see if you knew where they were because I didn't.
No, I just know that WeHo that's the area of occupancy for that persuasion, and it's fine. They have great restaurants there. It's a fun place to go. Everybody's very friendly, but I think that's kind of that domain. Just trying to be politically correct here and not act like I have any issues, but that's the world in West Hollywood. But yeah, so go get your kids. We'll talk.
I don't really want to. I'd better just keep doing the show. They're a pain in the ass.
Yeah, because I got a bunch of fun more stories about the 500. Just I wrote down the fun stuff. I didn't write down about the race. I thought you didn't really want to talk about the race.
Well, see, this is the thing. They wanted us to talk about our most memorable. I've never been to an Indianapolis 500.
Oh, you have not? Oh,
no. Wow.
Well, it's so different now. It's so different now than it was when I was going as a high school kid and as a junior high kid. It's a whole different thing. Now you have glamping. We would go and we would sleep either on the hood of the car or in the seats of the car, or a sleeping bag just unfolded on 16th Street and sleep there.
Yeah, see, I never went because that never really sounded that much fun to me.
It was just an experience, probably like what Woodstock, what I think would be like. I probably wouldn't have enjoyed Woodstock either, but the experience of being there.
So you didn't enjoy the Indy 500, but you went to 20 straight?
Yeah. Well, around that number. Yeah, I would go every year, but like the first half of them, I never saw the race. We just went to party.
Oh.
And then you got into the race, and then I started working for Dan Quayle. Then I got a VIP badge, so then I was allowed in the pits, in the pagoda. I would, had to wear long pants when I went. I have beautiful pictures that I took.
I thought you were going to say you have beautiful legs. That's where I thought you were going with that.
No, if you're going to get in that back then, if you were going to get in gasoline alley, then you had to have long pants on or in the pits. But with the VIP badge I had from Senator Quayle, I had access to anywhere I wanted to go. And then we came along in NASCAR with the Viagra car, and I got hot passes to the NASCAR races. And again, same principle. You had access to everywhere you wanted to be. Actually, one NASCAR race, I watched the start of the race with Tony George standing right next to me, talking to him as the NASCAR Richard 400
But that was
starting.
a memory for Tony.
He was the most boring person in the world, and he's a nice guy. He just had no conversation.
Did you both fall asleep during the conversation?
No, I didn't. I was too excited because my wife was sitting with Jeff Gordon's wife and Jimmy Johnson's wife, and they were both supermodels. So she was down sitting with them, talking to them.
Why were you excited
so I kind of wanted to
that?
get down. I don't know. Maybe she was going to ask him over for tea or something, or to hang out. I don't know.
You're looking for a little group action, huh, Steve?
If you don't dream, you never get anything.
You're a sicko.
But,
all right.
You need to go.
Hey, you know what? If you'd have pulled that off, that would have been a freaking Cinderella story. All right, guys.
That would have been a Cinderella story.
Tomorrow with
and I would have asked one of them to dress up like Cinderella, too, if they would have.
Why?
Glass
Wasn't
slippers
Cinderella
and all.
a young kid? Wasn't she like 15 or something?
Well, we'll have to come back and just do the stories. Well, you never went, so your whole basis is just on.
I wouldn't go. I'm not up for debauchery. I'm just an American.
Well, when you're 15 to 17, 18 years old, and you don't have internet, so you're not getting Pornhub. Debauchery live and in person is nothing like debauchery on tape. when you see it live and in person, it's a whole different
But
experience.
I didn't really
trust
want to
me.
drive an hour and a half, and then eventually I went to Indiana State. You see it either way then.
There you go.
But
It's a cool event.
and it wasn't just
it's
a bunch
lost
of
its
drunk
luster
old
some.
biker chicks. So what the hell?
Yeah, but the
Not that
glamping
there's
thing they
anything
do
wrong
now,
with drunk old biker chicks.
no,
but
they've
there
kind of
is.
made it like the Kentucky Derby, where it's kind of more of a big social.
You go to Walmart.
event.
There's a lot of debauchery at Walmart too.
Yeah, if you go to Walmart and there's pictures taken at Walmart, you can see enough debauchery there too.
Yeah, I mean 500-pound men and women in like sweatpants or yoga pants. That's the
Yeah.
worst. You can see all the dents.
All right,
I'm
look,
gonna get off
you
here.
got to go.
All right,
You're a fan. I'm just going to say for the final time to all the Raptors fans,
Steve is a
no
big,
disrespect
big
for
wuss.
calling them a Cinderella team. I predict they're going to win tomorrow. I'm going against the grain. Mike thinks the Bucks are going to win.
Mike
I'm going to
doesn't
say
think anything.
the
'cause
Raptors
Mike
are
doesn't
more than
care.
a Cinderella team now. They were up until they won. Then they became the Prince, and now they control their own destiny. And I think they'll take advantage of that. So go Raptors. Who are you picking in the Indy 500?
Helio Castronavos, because this is the only one I
Me
know.
too.
We're going to wrap.
Yeah,
Same
so I'm-
reason for that, huh? But, all right, guys,
Yeah.
we're going to wrap it up. I'm going to pick Tony Stewart, Helio Castronavos, and A.J. Foyt to win his fifth. All right, tomorrow at 2 o'clock, the Bobby Sheridan Report. Tonight at 11 o'clock, in just 2 hours, you get inside Boxing Daily, the consistently #1 ranked show on thegrillingtruth.com. Almost said .net. Make sure you check out mybookie.ag, the Sheridan Report, the handicapping guide. Check them all out. You can find all the banners on the website. All right, guys, we're going to wrap it up.
Can I say one thing?
No.
At some point in time, we will have a
said
real
no.
good NASCAR show for you whenever it decides to get posted.
Oh, shoot.
Um,
Okay. Why didn't
we
you
actually
remind me?
talk about the All-Star race, and we talk about the Coca-Cola 600, which is the longest closed-circuit oval track race held in the world. We break that down. And we also, again, as a special thing, we had a driver on who's an ARCA driver, Michael Klein, who takes us through all the terminology. So when you hear loose in, tied off, track bar, everything.
Hey, does Michael know what
associated
plus
with the
minus
language.
means in the NBA?
I imagine they have a different plus minus in auto racing, would be my guess.
Okay.
But he might. But I know now. I know now. So I feel enlightened. And
All right. So your plus minus
maybe
for the
maybe
show was
verbiage-
minus 17 because of that not knowing that answer.
Maybe the fact that everybody in the world thinks you're an ultimate genius, except myself, who thinks you're a good egg and a great partner, somebody I love doing the show with. Maybe they're right and I'm wrong there too. Maybe I shouldn't like you. I shouldn't, do a show with you and just let them all call you Svengali.
Okay. That's good.
Okay.
At least you're jealous.
That's good.
All right, guys, we're going to wrap it up.
I am jealous.
I want to thank everybody for listening. You can hear all of our shows on iHeartRadio, iTunes, TuneIn, Spreaker, Stitcher. We're up to like almost 300 places now where you can find us. So you just go type in The Grueling Truth, you'll find us. So for Steve, I'm sorry, Risley, I'm Mike Goodpasture. You've been listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.